Well, the principle of loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Your God, with all, it's not just not putting ordinary people before God, your loved ones, and so on. It includes any notion of guru and avatar, too. It's enshrined in the nonconformist Christian value that we don't have anyone between us and God. We don't recognize the authority of the priest. There are no priests, or to turn it around the other way, we're all priests, directly answerable to God. The Brethren, for instance, used to not have ministers. But then, of course, elders crept into it, and that was the start of a corruption of that, I think, really. By corruption, that sounds emotive, doesn't it? But I felt that was, in some sense, a breach of that principle. Of course, they may have thought in the end that the principle wasn't entirely valid. And that is the temptation. I mean, we've ended up, as I argue, with the Christian religion of very much it being a guru religion where they're worshipping, God's right-hand son. He's name above all names, and they actually mean Jesus. They don't mean Father, they mean Jesus. They actually take the view that God's name is Jesus. And yes, he is Father in a different form, And that's how the Hindu too sees the well, certainly Krishna, he's an incarnation of God. The avatar in general, if you can say in general as regards avatars, I'm not sure how big a body of people they would be in persons. They're treated as God, and even in the Buddhist religion, you're treating the guru as if he were the Buddha, even though he's plainly not. I mean, this is, as I see it, it's flirting with disaster. Some of our gurus and avatars seem extremely not perfect, shall we say. Yeah. It's confusing when we come to think of loved ones and friends. Or does it mean I'm not to love those that I do love? And if I open the door and say, oh no, of course not, you should do that, then am I still loving God with all my heart, soul, mind and strength? Christian tries to get around that by saying, well, it depends what you're putting first. If you're putting the wife first before God, then that's not right. If you're putting God first before the wife, well, that is right, although wife might not see it that way. And And this angel could turn into, well, we don't like to go into that really. And suddenly you find you've fallen from glory in their eyes and you're just this festering mass of evil as far as they're concerned. Well, you can see why notions of celibacy and not marrying and that came into the religious consideration, can't you, as regards the holy life. Didn't want these complications. But doing that tends to have you withdraw from the world, withdraw from fully caring for those around us, and almost by definition, even if they are God's loved ones, we're saying it's too dangerous to love them. And of course it is dangerous to love them. I mean, the Jesus story has the ones he came to love crucify him, or at least some of them did. If he came to everybody, which we understand, which the Christian understands that he did. I mean, when I read John 17, I pray not for the world, but for those whom thou hast given me. I'm not quite so sure in what way Jesus is to be understood as loving everybody. Certainly in the sense of wanting to, quotes, save them. But it's certainly not a love that appreciates some of their behaviour, and he's very open in his criticism at times to their face in the story. In fact, to their face he's quite open to even someone as close as Peter. You know, having said on this profession of faith I will build my church, 2 minutes later in the text he's saying, get behind me, Satan. I mean, wow, where did the turnaround come? Don't feel too secure with this relationship. There's more in that Jesus story than Christianity seems to want to see. I mean, it's the obvious, isn't it? If Jesus really is the way we are to live, we can certainly understand why the world is going to persecute us. Now, I'm not saying we should worship the story. I'm not saying that this story has necessarily got it right, that this is the entire way we're supposed to live. I'm just trying to look at it as it is. You could say I'm trying to put truth above everything. Not quite sure I want to embrace that view, because it doesn't sound as though it includes anything necessarily about love and compassion and forgiveness and all that side of things that I so value. So I'm not sure as I quite put truth before all things. I put hope before what the world might want to scream is actually reality. And I don't just mean any hope, I mean a hope in the goodness and the loving kindness of God, and too, of course, His power to achieve what I understand, or what I don't necessarily understand, to be his goodwill, but that he understands it. I hope that's intelligible to you. What I mean is that I'm trusting in his goodness, even though I know my view of goodness is probably, I was going to say, woefully inadequate. But that sounds a bit too humble. I'm not sure if I'm going to quite say that. Okay. Look, when all said and done, I just want to be in the presence of the full awareness of the goodness and loving kindness and presence of our Heavenly Dad. And I can't quite visualize it all, but I just want my whole life and being to then unfold accordingly. I'm not sure if I can say it any more specifically than that. When I get to the nitty-gritty details like who I'm to love, how I'm to love, and it's just not so clear to me. But I value the peace and the joy. I was going to say of loving or worshipping him, of just being in love. And I'm trying to conceive it fully in terms of God. And a Heavenly Father goes a long way towards that goal in my mind. Although I think ultimately it may be shift to dearest friend. Although I'm slightly cautious about favoritism, as you know. And I don't want anyone not to be dearest friend. It's just that I don't want to follow them in their mistakes. Of course. I mean, obviously that's almost a trite truism to proclaim, isn't it? So what you see as a guru might be a person that I love. But my love doesn't turn on this guru being perfect or an avatar or imperfect. It turns on what I perceive as his possible need to be accepted, loved and cared for. Yeah, that. To be in fellowship himself. I don't feel let me say this, you probably think it's absurdly wrong, but, well, look, I'm sure you do, but I don't feel that Jesus or Paramahansa or any saint you like to mention is in some sense my superior. I don't have that humility, you see. What matters to me is friendship. I want to be their support and kindness to them and with them in everything that would nobly enrich their lives. But I want this for all life. I don't want it specially for them, although I know I do, because they've been such a blessing to me, but I want to treat others the same. Do you see, I don't want to follow any of with God's children. I only want to be with and support, protect and help and bless. Be a friend too. But I want that even for God, you see. I don't want my dad to be elevated out of fellowship reach. I want him to be loved and cared for. I hope he wants that. Be a bit smothering if he doesn't. I think I want to know in my heart that, dare I say this? I do everything, don't I? Well, at times, anyway. I want to be a full friend to him, all that he needs, should he need it. And I think in my heart that means I need to be as capable as him, both in understanding and in good intention. Else how can I be a good friend to him? I would simply be someone he loves and cares for, but not able to supply the friendship that he might need. You see, love doesn't recognize rank or authority or position or humility or humbleness, or it's irrelevant. Love and friendship is its own justification. That's why in faith, hope and charity, but the greatest of these is charity, which we interpret as being love. For the others pass away, but love doesn't. It's eternal, or it's not love. When she says to you, I love you always, she's not saying what she knows she can do. She's saying what she wishes she could offer you. What a sweetheart. Love you too, darling. Love you too. Bless you. So we probably want in our hearts, with tears in our eyes, to keep that trust if we possibly can. And when we find it's broken, we are devastated. And that's when you realize, my God, I need you. Heavenly Father, I need you. So we choose to live our life devoted to the eternal. That's why we're in the kingdom of heaven. That's why we are children of God. And suddenly it's all okay. The rest was just noise that passed away. you, Heavenly Father.